So good morning. We're looking at learning outcome 3 for person-centered approach. So we've looked at learning outcome 1, where we looked at how the values developed within the health sector. Then we looked at equality, diversity and discrimination in quite some detail yesterday. And then we looked at some sort of initiatives that are in place, like policies and legislations that are in place to promote anti-discriminatory practice. So that was yesterday's session. For today's session, we're looking at four assessment criteria. So the learning outcome is understand how person-centered care is applied in practice in health and social care settings. So like I was just mentioning, we're going to be looking at the 6 C's of the person-centered approach, looking at how to promote privacy, dignity and independence. And then right at the end, we'll look at some ethical issues and some theories that go hand in hand with it. So 3.1 is explain the skills and personal qualities needed to develop relationships with individuals in a health and social care setting. 3.2 is explain how a health and social care worker can promote an individual's independence. 3.3 is describe situations where the health and social care worker can ensure the privacy and dignity of individuals. Now, we touched upon some of these points yesterday, but we're going into more detail today. And then the merit criteria is 3M1, assess the ethical issues involved in applying a person-centered approach. So I'll get onto my PowerPoint. Yeah, I might just leave it at this because, like I said, mentioned earlier, oh no, it's working. That's fine. That's all ready now, fantastic. So just for the learners that have just joined us, we're looking at learning outcome 3, understand how person-centered care is applied in practice in health and social care settings. So we're just going to look at some terminology before we actually make a start about particular things that you will come across quite a lot. And these terminology is an extremely good idea to include these terms within your assignment and throughout it. So positive relationships, it just means to have meaningful interactions, things that will result in positive emotions. So somebody will feel happy, they're at peace, they have a sense of well-being. Now, positive relationships are constructive and they're beneficial for all of those involved. So they're actually beneficial towards how that person will get treated, how they will feel, and so on. Then the second piece of terminology. So I've got a little background noise. If that's one of you, please could you mute yourself just so we have a clear recording? And then you're welcome to unmute if you have a question. Health environment is practitioners and organizations that, that you're getting. The health environment is where you're working, where the diagnostics are being made, where you're getting your services. So it could be in a social care center, it could be in a clinic, it could be in the hospital, or you could be in a GP, even within your own home. So it really depends on where you're getting that care. Social care environment, where professionals and organizations that provide care, they're going to offer support and protection to adults, to young people, to children, anybody that's at risk, and help them with anything that they need towards illness or disability or old age, or any other circumstances that might put them at a disadvantage. So that's some terminology here. Then we've got another 2. We've got childcare environment. This is where practitioners and organizations will work with children between 1 to 13 years. So this is things like in nurseries, in schools, after-school clubs, breakfast clubs, Any type of activity clubs, like you might have karate or swimming or Boy Scouts, any of those type of clubs where a child is being cared between 1 to 13 years of age. Sorry, birth to 13 years. And then working partnership. This is actually just where different services and different people are going to be working with each other. Now, it's like a little bit like different services working together for multidisciplinary teams that we looked at in the health and social care sector, which if you've not had that unit, we will get onto that soon as well. So it's something similar to that. Is where different people, different professionals, individuals, carers, family members, they're all working together to give good quality care and to develop any sort of support. And they, once they're working together, they're getting along, they're getting to understand each other. This helps them to develop a mutual respect and be open and honest about what can be done and what cannot be done, and just to voice any concerns that there might be. So this is just some terminology that is a nice idea to include within your assignments when you're working on them. And now we'll go on to 3.1. Now here we're going to explain the skills and personal qualities needed to develop relationships with individuals in a health and social care setting. So in order to actually make sure that you're helping to develop your relationship with a person, you need to know what sort of skills and what sort of personal attributes you need. So these personal attributes they're about you. It's what makes you as a person. They're based on your values, what you think is important in your life. You know, things like maybe being kind and treating others with respect. You might want to treat somebody the way they will treat you. So if you're going to treat someone rudely, you're not going to expect someone to be extremely respectful to you. So treat them the way you want to be treated. So when we're talking of personal qualities and how we need these to develop relationships, it's all just about how you work, about what you believe in, about what you think is going to influence your working practices. So we've got some examples of this. And an example of this is the 6 C's of a person-centered approach. So I will get onto that in just a moment, but I want to talk about communication first. So communication is key to developing relationships with your clients, with your service users, with your colleagues. It's really important that you use good communication skills when you're working in health and social care, so that you're understood and that you can understand others as well. Now, good communication skills will help you develop positive relationships with the service users and their families and their friends. Now, there's always that one person that will go and see. You know, it's either in the GP or in the hospital if you're there regularly, or within a certain shop, and that you're always happy to see a particular person there. Or you always come out saying, oh, that nurse there was fantastic. I would love to deal with her again. Or the receptionist in the GP, she's amazing. I can go and ask her anything. So you do get remembered for how you behave, for how you are. People do actually form a sort of mini attachment to you when they're seeing you or when they're visiting a certain place. So with the way you behave, with the way you listen to others, and the way you convey yourself, that will actually help you to develop a positive relationship. Now, you can do these things to develop relationships with colleagues as well. And make sure that you're sharing the correct information with the correct people. So when you're sharing information with people that are using the services, you're able to let them know what's going on. So obviously you wouldn't tell them every single little thing, depending on if they need to know it or not. But you tell them what is necessary, give them information, let them be in the loop, and then also make sure you're getting information back from them so you can convey this to whoever needs getting told to. And now we're going on to the 6 C's. Does anybody have any questions so far? Remember, feel free to pop a question in the chat box or just ask me. That'll be fine. So the 6 Cs, this is actually a national strategy that nurses, midwives and care staff actually use. Now, this was launched in December 2012, and it was actually due to a nationwide concern about the standard of nursing care. There was, we might have mentioned the Mid Staffordshire Hospital and Winterbourne View Hospital. They had some failings happen there where people were not, their service users were not getting the adequate care that they needed. They weren't getting dignity. They weren't getting respect. The independence wasn't getting promoted. There was dangerous situations where people were getting injured. So there was quite a big failing of what should have been done at that time. Now, for example, if we have a hospital with people with learning disabilities and autism and anything where you've got elderly patients, you need to be there, you need to be able to promote their care, you need to know how to help them. And how is that done? So the 6 Cs is here as like a framework, as a set of values that help care professionals know what sort of behaviors they need to have to be essential to providing that quality care that they need. Now, we've got care. So these are the values, the 6 of them. Care, compassion, competence, communication, courage, and commitment. Now, care is to make sure that you're looking after the needs of a person and you're providing for them. Compassion is to be aware of how they might be feeling, aware of other people's needs, and have a desire to actually help them. Competence is to make sure that you understand a person's need and, you know, with your own expertise, with your own knowledge, be able to deliver the care that can meet those needs. Communication, again, is a big thing. So it's the exchange of information where you know that you're listening to somebody and they're listening to you. There's a good conversation going on between each other and you're understanding what needs to happen for that person's care needs to be met. Courage is the personal strength that you have. So if you see something that's not going right, if you feel that something can be changed, you have to have that personal strength to go and change things and make sure that person is being cared for adequately. And then the commitment is the determination to improve the care and the needs of people. So be committed. Don't just do your daily job that you're doing. Go in, come out, you've got your wage. You're going in, you're committed, you're making sure that the person is actually, the service user, is actually being treated the way they need to be treated, medically and emotionally. So these are the 6 Cs. Sorry, my laptop's just buffering a little bit. I'll just wait for this to catch up. Anybody got any questions while we're waiting for my laptop to speed up? Or anything that they might have used within their own settings? Any examples? Right, I'm just going to leave it on the smaller screen because we seem to be buffering quite a lot, and I think this might be the best option for us at the moment. So part of giving adequate care and developing a relationship with your service user and with your colleagues is to make sure that you're actively listening and actively responding. So like I said the other day, it's something that I mentioned quite a lot with my lessons, that communication is just not about talking. So there is an aspect of where you're talking, but there's also an aspect of where you're listening and where you're actually watching out for body language to understand. Does the person I'm talking to, do they understand what I'm saying? Do they look confused? Do they look bored? Do they look angry? So you're looking at their body language as well. So listening, it involves more than just hearing what people say. So you're going to listen to the words that they're saying, but you're also going to look at how they're behaving. So are they yawning? Are they looking at your notes while you're writing them? Or are they looking at their watches and thinking, oh, goodness sake, will she hurry up? Are they giving you the full attention? So make sure that you can actually pay attention to what their body language is. So this goes for you as well. For example, if you're sitting there with the patient and they're trying to tell you something, but you start looking at your watch or you start scribbling things onto your clip chart, or you start shaking your legs or yawning or turning around, it's going to show them that you're not paying attention to them. It's rude. So you can cause that person distress. They can, take it negatively. They can think that, this healthcare professional, they're not bothered about me. Why am I trying to tell them my own problems? So to avoid that, make sure that you've got your body facing towards them. You're giving them eye contact and you've got a nice facial language where you're showing interest. Now, we do have active listening skills and strategies, and we're going to go through a couple of these now. So some of these strategies for active listening and responding to the person are: make sure that you let the person who's talking to you, let them talk, give them time to explain. Don't interrupt them. Encourage them by nodding or smiling or making, oh yes, really, things like that. Ask them for clarification. If you've not understood something or you just want to make sure they understand what they've said to you, you can say, can you explain that again, please? Give them empathy. So you can use comments like, that must have been really hard. That sounds like it was a very difficult time for you. So just comments that we do naturally, to be honest. Look interested. Maintain eye contact and then don't look at anything else. Now, maintaining eye contact doesn't mean staring them down, because that can be a bit aggressive when someone's not blinking. So just do natural eye contact where you're looking at them when they make contact with you, looking down a couple of times, looking up again, to just make sure that it is a little broken. Don't be distracted by anything else. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your notes. Don't look at your mobile phone. So, and in the end, once you've listened to what they've said and you're summarizing, just make sure that you know what's been said. So then you can say, so what you mean is, and then just clarify what they've said in a couple of sentences. And then they'll go, yes, that's right. Or they'll say, no, that's not what I meant. And then you'll have clarified and they'll know what has been conveyed. Now, tone of voice is extremely important here as well. So it's about the way you speak to someone. So I could go like, right, I'm teaching you a lesson today. And now that'll be me like I'm being angry with you. Or I'll be like, right, today I'm going to teach you a lesson. This is what we're going to talk about. So it depends on what tone you have to convey how the other person will see you. So if you're speaking in a loud tone, it could be something like it's very threatening. It would make someone feel that you're being angry with them, or that maybe if you're talking to somebody in a particular way, they might feel that they're less intelligent than you. So you just need to make sure you match your tone of voice with the person you're speaking to. It is really important to speak calmly and quietly and use a varying tone. So don't just keep it fixed where it's monotone, where it just seems like you're bored. Be friendly with them, be kind, be interested in what they're saying. If a person has a difficulty speaking, speak a bit more loudly, but that doesn't mean you have to speak aggressively. You can speak loudly but calmly at the same time. So you need to keep a control on the tone of your voice. And then you need to have people skills as well. Now, that goes without saying. I mean, I think everybody who works within healthcare has some extent of people skills. Some people will need to develop a little bit more. Some people will have it naturally. So people skills that are actually what help us get on with other people. It's what helps us develop relationships with them. So you've got empathy, where you understand people's emotions, patience. So it's the capacity where you can understand other people's emotions, and you can actually tolerate problems without getting annoyed yourself. Engendering trust, so helping people to be able to trust you. Flexibility, so that you can change your own plans. You can be adaptable. Having a sense of humor, I think, is one of the biggest things that a care worker does have, or a health professional has. So being able to see the funny side of situations, to be able to put people at ease with a little joke here and there. Negotiating is another people skill that you need to have. So if you've got an issue where a patient wants a particular thing, but the doctor doesn't want them to have it, maybe negotiate between the two and try to come to an agreement. Honesty, that goes without saying. So be truthful and sincere to the point where you can be. So don't make promises that you can't keep, and just say, I'll try my best, I will try to do this for you, but it's not in my hands. And then problem solving is another thing that you need to have good skills at. So have the ability to ask the right questions and find the right answers to a problem. So we've looked over an extensive amount of information of what you need for developing your own person skills. So that was 3.1. We're going to make a move on to 3.2. Does anybody have any questions or want to make any comments before we go on to 3.2? Yeah, I'll make a start on 3.2 then, if everyone's fine. So 3.2 is explain how a health and social care worker can promote an individual's independence. Now, we've got something called active participation here. So active participation is something that is aiming to support the rights and independence of individuals. So you're doing this by encouraging them to participate in activities themselves. So you're encouraging them to go and make a cup of tea. You're encouraging them to go to the bathroom unassisted if they're able to. You're encouraging them to, choose their outfit for the day or choose what they want to eat. Now, active participation has a lot of benefits. So some of these benefits are increased independence, higher self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-awareness. You get a better overall well-being because you're feeling better about yourself. Even if it's a small task that you've been able to do on your own, you're going to be happy that I did that on my own. It gives the service user a lot more opportunities for activities. They can interact with other people. Say, for example, if they're in a care home and they don't normally go into the day room very often, and they've gone in, they've made new friends, they've said hello to someone, they've got over some shyness. So it's going to give them a lot more opportunities. It also gives increased opportunities for learning and development. They can learn new skills. They can develop their own physical self. It helps you get better relationships between the individuals and the care staff. So you might be pushing them to do something, but overall it's for their own best. And then you're only doing it, to the limits that they can actually cope with. And it will promote your relationship with each other. It'll give you increased physical activity, give you better health. You'll get less likelihood of being abused, and you're less likely to be vulnerable because you are trying things for yourself. You're promoting that service user to be more active and be more independent, and this will help them. So active participation is used in all aspects of the individual's preferences. Like I said, maybe it's about how they want to dress, maybe what they want to eat, but it's also about what care they want and how they're supported. So they've got a role in what sort of care they get, what type of medication they get. So they can say that I'm not happy with having 3 or 4 injections a day. It's painful. Is there an alternative? Is there a pill I can take? Is there something else that can be done? So they can be involved in that opportunity there. Now, active participation also helps you get more opportunities. You're more involved in activities, you're more socially interactive, and this can physically is another thing, but mentally it will actually help you feel better. You'll get a better mental health and better well-being. You'll be more self-confident and you'll be more independent. So once you know that I've completed, if there's a service user, they find it very hard to walk more than 20, 30 steps. If they've gone slightly above that one day, maybe they can challenge themselves to do more. They did 25 steps today, maybe they can do 30 and slowly build themselves up. That will improve their confidence. So active participation is a way that actually helps the service user to understand that they're an individual and they're an active partner in their care, and that they've got the right to do certain things, that they've got the right to participate in activities and in relationships and in everyday life. They can say what I want to eat, what I want to drink, what I want to wear, what type of care I get. So they know that they are able to be actively participated in these. So that was 3.2. Anybody got any questions or any comments? Okie doke. So we'll carry on to 3.3. So 3.3 is describe situations where health and social care workers can ensure the privacy and dignity of individuals. Now, over these next couple of slides, we're just going to go over what privacy is, what dignity is, and so on with that. So privacy and dignity are very big issues within values within person-centered care, and it's something that all care workers will be familiar with, within their day-to-day practice. So what is privacy? Now, privacy is when you're giving people space and you're letting them have the time that they need and you're respecting their personal confidence, their information. So you might have they might come out and say something to you, or you might have overheard something. Now, it's not your job to go running around and telling everybody else. You're giving them that privacy and that respect. So dignity is when you're respecting and valuing the individuals that you're working with. You're treating them with care, compassion, and respecting their views and, their own personalized care. Now, how can privacy and dignity be compromised? So first, I'd like to tell you some examples of privacy and dignity. Now, how can privacy and dignity be ensured? So you might have had some information that's given to you that the patient has told you in private. So that's up to you to keep it in private. They might have told you about maybe a child not visiting them and how upset it makes them, or maybe they've got a such situation that they just want to offload. So that's privacy there. They might be on a phone call and you're coming into the room unannounced. So you're not minding their privacy. You need to make sure you knock on the door and that you're actually being able to, you know that if you're able to come in or not. If you walk in and you see they're on the phone or they're talking with family members, you say, that's fine, you carry on and we'll speak to you later. Dignity can be ensured in a certain amount of ways, like making sure that there's separate bathrooms for males and females, or when you're giving them body washers, if they're unable to go to the bathroom to wash, making sure that only part of their body is uncovered, so you're clearing that area. So just being respectful of their needs. So those are some examples. So we're going to look at how dignity might be compromised and how it can be maintained. So there's a couple of points here. So like I said, how to maintain it is by knocking on the door before you go into an individual's room. By compromising is if you just walk in without knocking. So greeting and speaking to an individual, so when you walk into a room, or actually just ignoring them when you're walking into their area and you just carry on working. So you might just walk in, grab what you want, and then walk back out. So that's you compromising their privacy and dignity. Privacy and dignity, to keep it, is asking for consent before touching an individual, or you can compromise it by just doing personal care without even asking or saying, this is what I want to do, is this okay? And then another part is only sharing personal information about an individual on a need-to-know basis. So this is you maintaining it, but the way you're compromising it is by telling an individual's family or friends or anybody that will listen to you, colleagues, everything that that person has told you, or sharing information that you shouldn't be sharing. Now, other ways to promote privacy and dignity are when you walk in to a room or first time you're meeting a service user, asking them how they like to be addressed. Because I know in my days when I used to work as a primary school teacher, many a year ago, I would constantly say honey, love, sweetheart to the children that were there. And now there were some that really loved it, but there were the odd ones that would say, no, sweetheart isn't my name, this is my name. So it's the same sort of aspect that can be applied to anybody, to be honest. So rather than going in and saying love or so on, if someone's called Mrs. Smith, they might want you to say, my name is Mrs. Smith, address me as Mrs. Smith. Or they might say, no, that's fine, call me Mabel, call me Dorothy, call me John, that's fine. So ask them what they want to be addressed as. That's another way that you can ensure that their dignity is being kept. So that was 3.3. And if anybody has any questions, please, you're welcome to ask. And then I will make my way on to 3M1. Now, this is the merit criteria. This is where we're going to assess the ethical issues involved in applying a person-centered approach. Now, we're going to look at the ethical issues, and we're going to look at some theories that go hand in hand with this, what those theories actually say that can be done for these ethical issues. So there can be lots of ethical issues within here. There can be things about ethical working. When we're doing ethical working, it's about respecting the basic values and principles that are within the practice. But ethics do have moral questions about them. So there are some things that are morally questionable when you're trying to be ethical. So things like patient privacy and confidentiality, you know, who gets what information, who should you share it with, who should even know about things. Transmission of diseases, relationships, end-of-life issues. Now, I think a couple of days in the last session or the one before, I mentioned the ethical issue of if there's one person who needs a life-changing operation that is going to cost, say, £30,000 to £40,000. Now, you know that if this child needs a lung transplant, but there's no, you don't know what the outcome will be. You don't know what the actual result will be. Now, there's only a 40% chance that this child will survive with this lung transplant. Do you go ahead with it? Is this done? What should be done? So if this spending £40,000 on an operation where you're getting surgeons from overseas to come in, you know, it's going to take a 20 to 30 hour operation. It's quite complex. It's time consuming. So that money that's being spent on that child, the time that's being spent on that child to give her a new lung transplant, with the overall result with that she might not even survive it. She might only get 30 to 40% chance that she can survive this. Should that be done? Compared to that 30 to 40,000 pounds being spent on mini operations where you're getting to treat hundreds of patients instead. So what would be done? What should be done? Now that is a moral question. Do you go ahead with it? Do you not go ahead with it? What can we do? Now here are some theories that we talk about that will help us. So we've got 4 different theories: consequentialism, deontology, principalism, and virtue ethics. And we're going to go on through each one. Now, each of these theories goes over different points, and there are some parts that you'll agree with and some parts you will disagree with, but it's up to you as an individual to make sure that to see what you agree with. It's based on your life experiences. So nothing is right, nothing is wrong. That's the whole issue about ethics and morals. Now, consequentialism, this was created by Jeremy Bentham, and one of his students adapted it a little later on. So it has been adapted many times. So Jeremy Bentham looked at this between 1748 to 1832. And then we had one of his students, John Stuart Mill, who worked on it a little bit more. And now we've had a modern writer who's changed a few things, called Peter Singer, and he was born in 1946. Now, consequentialism says that the correct moral response is related to the outcome or the consequences of the act, and not its intentions. So if you're making a decision about a person's health, using this theory, you would look at the results of your decision for that person's well-being. So like I was saying, if there's a child who needs an expensive treatment but has a low expectancy, should the NHS do the operation, or should the money be allocated to hundreds of other operations? So what are the consequences of spending money either way? Which is most important? So it's up to you to decide this. So if this child is critically ill, so consequentialism is that you are looking at the end result to decide whether or not you do this. So you're not going to say, yeah, it should be done because it should be done. Everybody should get care that they need. This consequentialism theory looks at the end result and says, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? What can be done? Then we go to deontology. And the writers of deontology were Immanuel Kant and W.D. Ross. So deontology theory says that you should stick to your obligations and duties to the society or the people that you're working with to make sure that your decision is ethically correct. So it's focusing on your intentions rather than the outcomes. So rather than saying this will be the result of my actions, you're saying this is what we want to happen. So what this means is, for example, the rules about who receives what treatment are applied universally and consistently. So all patients are owed the duty of care and the duty of not being harmed. So this theory focuses on the fact that everybody should be getting treatment regardless of what their outcome will be, and that everybody should get the same care as everyone else. Then we've got principalism. So the writers of this were Tom L. Newcamp and James F. Childress. Now, they focused on four key issues. Autonomy is the first one, where they respect the decision-making capabilities of autonomous people, by people who can make decisions themselves. They enable them to be independent, give them information, and let them make their own reasoned choices. Beneficence, where they're balancing the benefits of treatment against the risks. So you're acting in a way that benefits the patient and promotes the well-being of others. So if you've got a certain cancer drug that costs £22,000 to treat one person for 1 year, would this money be better spent on saving a lot of people who might have a heart attack each year? So what is the benefit? You've got to balance the benefits of that treatment. Non-maleficence, where you're doing no harm, so you're avoiding causing harm. So an example is this, where you're making sure that any treatment that you're giving someone, the side effects that don't outweigh the benefits. So the treatment might make them feel better, but what if it causes hair loss? What if it causes sickness and bloating and rashes on your body? Now, getting treated for a particular issue and getting well from it is fine, but if it makes you feel even worse by having other side effects, is it worth it? So you shouldn't be doing harm. And then justice, the final point of this is So you're being morally right and fair, and you're distributing a fair share of benefits. So you're looking at all of the people that are within the system, and you're looking at all the rights of the people involved, and you're trying to share things equally between them. So the aim of principalism is to bring together all of the best elements about all of the other theories that are there. So you're not just focusing on, say consequences in consequentialism, where they're saying that the consequences will decide what you do, or deontology is where you're saying that your intentions, if you're meaning to do good, just go ahead and do it. This is looking at all of the benefits of all of the theories. So it's trying to mix them up. And then the last one within the last theory is virtue ethics. Now, this was a theory that has been rooted from Plato and Aristotle. So what they do is they focus on the moral character, the virtue of the individual. So if we use this in accordance to health and social care, you're going to make your decision based on your own morals and what you feel is correct. So it's all about you, this one. So this is how you feel towards a particular patient, what your own morals are, what your own virtues are, what your own principles are, and that's how you're going to inform your decision and think, am I going to give this life-saving operation to a person who might not even survive, or are we going to just carry on, let them, they've got 6 months left, let them live those 6 months out in peace, and then spend that money on something else, spend it on treating hundreds of other patients. So it just depends on what you feel, what your moral character is, and what your virtues are. So this was learning outcome 3. So we've looked at communication skills, we've looked at independence, privacy and dignity, and now we've just looked at the ethical issues. So all of this is on Moodle. I'm just going to turn the recording off, and then you're very welcome to ask me any questions.